Hello and welcome to another episode of Straight from the Training Ground, the podcast where we share our love for the beautiful game and the people in their communities doing beautiful things. We have some great stuff for you this time. Along with me is my partner in crime, Ryan Wall. How you doing, Rosmondo?
Doing pretty good. Thank you.
Cheap promo with the Highlanders coffee mug.
That's right.
There you
Keep with
go.
me at all times.
OVPL. So on our episode today, we have a special interview coming up here shortly with the CEO of a company called Unozero. If you haven't heard of them yet, check them out. We'll get to that later. But they make premium quality, old school leather boots. Roz, I'm dreaming of a day back when there was no Snapchat, there was no TikTok. There were just classic leather boots, and everyone wore black boots. Do you remember those days?
I remember those days pretty well, and that was before the internet too. I think.
Before the internet, yes.
Before the internet, yeah, I remember. I remember my first pair of boots. It was
What was that?
my first real pair of boots. My dad went and bought me were a pair of Patrick Diablos.
Yeah.
As you may know, Patrick was, I think it's a British brand still. Got a pair of Patrick Diablos, and the leather was so thick it was bulletproof. And they had the 6 studs, because back then we never played on, we rarely played on turf fields. It was the old turf carpet, but we played mainly on grass fields. And grass rather, more like mud most of the time. So you needed 6 long screw-in studs. So Patrick Diablo is my first boots. What about you?
Nice. Honestly, I don't remember my first pair of boots. I remember for some reason my first pair when I was about 6 or 7. You wanted the studs. I wanted the turf shoes actually because the turf shoes were really cool.
Yeah.
They were rare. So I got a pair of like all white. I don't know if they're like kangaroo. You remember kangaroos?
You're the all white. You went
Yeah.
for all white straight
Oh,
away, even before they were fashionable.
oh yeah. Turf, like the generic cheesy 80s turf shoes. And I thought they were great. Yeah. But what would be your favorite pair of boots you'd say you've ever had? All-time
Oh,
favorites.
well, I've had some real stinkers. I'll tell you that. I've had some boots that, I mean, I lost about 2 pounds of skin by the time the game was over with blisters and everything. My mitre boots were probably the worst I've ever had.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Mitre's not watching.
Yeah.
But I think the best I've ever had is Adidas World Cup with the 6 studs again. As I said, I grew up playing in grass, wet grass fields mainly. So it's 6 studs, the screw-ons. Adidas World Cup, and I think they've been around since like 78 World Cup or the 82 World Cup.
Yeah.
They're just a phenomenal pair of, like I said, 6 studs, great leather, just the most comfortable boots I've ever worn. Close second was Puma King. I've had some Puma Kings with a big flat tongue.
Yep, the big white tongue.
Yeah, they were made to just smash the ball. Not really made for silky touches because once they had like the bulletproof thick leather, but they're phenomenal. So I would say Adidas World Cup followed by Puma Kings.
I had an actual pair of Puma Kings. We were talking about this earlier today. I had the Puma King studs actually in college, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Loved them. And I would say, oddly enough, I think I'm going to surprise you here. My all-time favorite boots, I think, might be, and I believe that you picked them up for me somewhere. The '98 Adidas. They weren't the Predators. They were like the Predator, I think, Accelerator, but they had the blue tongue. They didn't have the Predator
Yeah,
bits on them. They were just the leather.
I may have picked them up
Fantastic.
at a random Gabe store.
Yeah, some discount something, but I'm telling you, they were just fit perfect. They were lightweight, all
Yeah,
leather. Solid Adidas boots would last, a long time. And,
yeah.
they just don't make them that way anymore.
Well, I mean, they don't. I mean, boots were made to last, right? Yeah. I mean, I remember going way back now when we used to polish. You used to polish your boots. You'd get a pair. You get a pair of boots and
Yeah.
black shoe polish. And after you clean them off, you dry them. Sometimes put a newspaper inside, and then once it dried, you put a layer of polish on them. Then you'd buff them as well. It's a real art.
Yeah.
So I remember you used to do that. That was a big thing. But now I don't even know if kids are aware that our players, regular age players, adult age players are aware that boots like that exist because so many of them are wearing plastic based boots, soccer shoes.
Oh, yeah. Well, along those lines, tell us a little bit as you have some experience in that field. You might be a field, it might be your field of expertise, some might say.
While polishing boots.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, so back when I was playing the game full time as a trainee professional at Bolton Wanderers.
Yep.
lowly Bolton at the time. This is back in the 1990 somethings. Part of our job on a daily basis after training and getting things organized from this football or soccer development side of things was we had to get the first team players boots, shoes. They'd have 2-3 pairs, and we'd have to basically clean them and polish them. And every player on the development squad, or the trainees who'd call us, we had about 3 professionals that would take care of their boots. And it was a daily job. You'd basically be cleaning, polishing boots on a daily basis. And then when they had a game, they had an away game or something, whether it's the league game or FA Cup, we'd have to stack the containers of all their boots.
Yep.
And I do remember a time when I forgot to do that. So the guy I was looking after, his name is Andy Walker, famous player in the day, back in the mid-90s for Bolton Wanderers. He showed up at a game with no boots. And that was my fault. But anyway,
it's funny now.
It's funny now. It was funny then. But anyway, the point you're the example of the story is that we used to polish boots on a daily basis. It was a done thing. Everybody did it.
Yeah.
And these days, people just don't do it because the advent of plastic soccer shoes, plastic boots.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously times have changed a lot, and everyone's all about the speed boots and lightweight, and there's less and less material to them, and obviously then they don't last as long. So that's a great story, and we appreciate all that stuff. That's fantastic. So with that, we have an interview with the CEO and founder of Unozero, and again, their kind of bottom line as a company is they're trying to bring back the classic leather boot.
Love it.
For everyone, for those people that still love the touch and the feel of a leather boot, a comfortable leather boot. Very simple, old school. They only make them in black and white, and that's it. So I know that's right up your alley, Roz.
Love it. Absolutely.
So we look forward to that. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to one of our good friends, Callum Morris. Check him out on social media. We'll put a link down below in our description. He is a good friend of ours, and he's kind of building a casual collection of old school boots. He's a connoisseur, some might say. So look him up, check him out. He's got some really good stuff on there too, if that's your thing. So with that, here's our interview with Unozero. Very glad to have our interview guest, Sam Garzon, the founder of Unozero. Sam, glad to join us today.
No, thank you for having me, Jason Ryan. I appreciate it.
First thing I would like to know is, as a fan of classic leather boots, and Ryan and I have already talked about this a little bit, what was your inspiration or your motivation to start Unozero?
Absolutely. It was a personal need, Jason, to be very honest. So, if we go back about 10 years, I needed to buy a pair of cleats. So I went to my local, sports or soccer shop. And when I got there, there were very few options that really spoke to me. And I had to compromise between a neon green and a bright red synthetic boot that just fit horribly. And if I wanted something a bit more refined, elegant, serious, I had to compromise with a very old boot that hasn't been changed in over 40 years. So I said, why? Why isn't there a boot out there that I want to wear, that I'm excited to wear? And that issue was shared, or that sentiment was shared by my teammates. And I was like, maybe there is something here. So at the time, I was on a very steady, very comfortable corporate job, and my wife was kind enough to accept me leaving that life and venturing into creating what I thought was going to be something unique, and rightfully so. It has, and things are going the right direction.
So, Sam, can you tell me a little bit about Unozero? Is it your company? You started it. What's the background about the company?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm the founder. So I created this company back in late 2017. So that's when I left my corporate job and founded Unozero. It did take us a while to get to market. So even though I created the company in 2017, we did not launch until mid 2019. So it took that long to really create um, not only the brand, but most importantly the product, right? So the product development takes a long time, and it took a while to get our first shoe right. And once we had it right, that's when we decided to launch. But yeah, it's a vision that I had in my mind. I closed my eyes and I saw the big number 10 on Pele, Maradona, Ronaldinho, and I knew that we could use it as inspiration to create a true soccer centric brand that catered to that footballer, to that player, that really did not fall for gimmicks. None of that mega speed, lethal power marketing nonsense, but rather focusing.
Yeah.
Those players are really focused on a boot that gives them the right fit, the right comfort. Because once you're comfortable, once your boot fits properly, you forget about them and you focus on what matters, which is actually the game. So that's kind of the origin of Unozero.
I mean, I think that's fantastic. I think Jason and I talk about it a lot. It seems like there wasn't a problem with leather boots, leather shoes, or cleats, or whatever you call them, until the big companies started forcing plastic shoes down our throat. And that's just a personal
100%.
gripe from my point of view. So it's just it's refreshing to hear what you guys are doing.
Yeah, no, and it's spot on, Ryan. I mean, the reality is that over the past 12 years or so, the industry has changed dramatically. And when you see who the big players are, you realize that these are not only big in this industry, those are some of the biggest brands in the world, even outside of the industry. And they have very big, have a lot of expenses, right? And at the same time, you need to maximize profit. And sometimes what some brands do is you have to minimize your cost. The reality is that leather is very expensive. The way you have to treat it, the way you have to work with it, it's challenging. You have to know what you're doing. By using plastic, you can just mass produce, in large scale. So for some brands, that makes sense, and that's what they're pushing. And the reality is that plastic will never mold like leather will. So you will never get that same level of comfort and fit that you get with a leather boot. Thank you so much, Jason. That's a beautiful boot. But that's really it's a very basic premise. That said, you can find leather boots in the market, but you need to find boots that are well made, that are made by shoemakers that know what they're doing, and it's in shoes that will last you. I mean, the reality is that with the synthetic boots out there and the speed boots that you find nowadays, you're spending good money, and then after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, they're torn apart, and you have to go back at it. And for the big brands, it's amazing because you're buying cleats every 2 months.
Over,
yeah, exactly, Ryan. But as a consumer, as a player, I felt that was unfair. So our boots, they're handmade in Italy, small batches, by the same shoemakers that have worked with some of the best players in the history of the game. And when you look at our boots, and just you have your boot there, if you can just turn to the sole plate, sole plates are glued to the upper. In our case, we not only glue but also stitch. So if you go around the forefoot, you'll see there's a stitch line, and what that does, it prolongs the life of the shoe. So that detachment between the upper and the sole plate is delayed, if not prevented. So what I'm trying to say is that we want our boots to last a long time. We don't want you to have buy boots, every month, every 2 months. We don't agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. I mean, Jay, you go first.
No, I was just going to say, obviously, Sam, starting something like this, I'm sure we could talk for a couple of hours about all the challenges and things like that. But what would you say has been the biggest challenge getting this off the ground and making this idea that you had actually come to life?
Yeah, I think it's hard to pinpoint one challenge. I think everything was challenging. When, I went to, I graduated from college, I worked, I went back to school, took a master's, went back to work. And in grad school, they tell you that when you want to start something, it's 10 times harder than you think it's going to be. And I think that's a lie. it's a million times harder than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Every single thing is challenging, and in my case, I was not coming from the footwear industry, so there was a lot to learn. Um, and but I knew what I wanted to create. I knew the value that I wanted to bring to players around the world. So I think that when you're set on your vision, and you also have to be realistic, because not because you have a vision, you believe in it, means that it's going to work. But being persistent is something I'm grateful that I was. I mean, the reality is, if I had to point one of the biggest challenge, it was timing. So we launched in the middle of 2019. We were 9 months old when COVID hit. So you can imagine, there's no sports, there's no soccer, there's no need for soccer equipment, there's no need for soccer cleats. So as a new venture, you're not even able to make it to year one, and then you have 12, 15 months of no soccer, very limited soccer. That was very challenging. But we were able to survive that, and once 2021 came around in the springtime, we were able to kind of breathe again, and we've been able to grow ever since. So timing was one, and then the other challenging thing, Jason, I'll say that what we're trying to do at the time, what we were trying to do was a bit crazy. I mean, if you think about it, who we're going against, as I mentioned, these are some of the biggest brands in the world. But I felt there was an opportunity to offer something different to players, not to all players, but to players that understand what we wanted to offer. And slowly but surely, that player base grew and continues to grow.
So where can we tell us a little about how you get into market? Are you in retail? Or are you direct to consumer online? What's kind of your model? And also, my question was, do you have buy-in from certain sports teams at all, whether it's collegiate or professional or amateur?
Absolutely, great question, Ryan. So we sell our products are available online and on select retail stores nationwide. So if you go to our website, unozero.com, you find a full portfolio of cleats, of shoes, from ground to AGs to turf to futsal, flats, etc. But then we are also available again on select stores nationwide. We are retailers from Hawaii to New York to Florida, and anything and everything in between. So you can also find that on our website, and then also on social media. We promote some of our retail partners. I know you guys are in Ohio. Soccer Plus is one of our retail partners in the state. So if you're local near where Jason and Ryan are, then that's a good place to also check them out. And so that was part of the question: where are they available? And then when it comes to teams, so we primarily go direct to consumer, to the player itself. However, we do work with clubs and teams that are interested in having more of their players wear our product, and we do team pricing, team packages, and then later this year we'll be releasing apparel as well. So we'll be able to offer uniforms, from head to toe, to clubs and teams throughout the country.
Well, I just want to say, I mean, my son plays. He's 18 years old, and over the years, I kept getting a certain big brand of, let's say, plastic boots over the years, because they're the ones available, and spending way over $100 for it. And then the last pair I got him was a leather pair, a different brand. They actually had a leather pair in their customer offering, and so I purchased them, and he's turned around and said, wearing leather shoes, these shoes are just the best one. I won't go back. I'm not going to wear plastic again. So I'm not making that up. I've told Jason that story too. Yeah. So that's why I love having you on here and talking about what you're doing.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I guess maybe I'm preaching to the choir here, but the reality is that for those players out there that have not tried on a pair of leather cleats, you're doing yourself a disservice. I mean, you should try on a pair. Any brand will do. You'll realize the benefits very quickly. Obviously, we hope that's going to be Unozero. We do offer free shipping, free size exchange, free returns, all that good stuff. But if you're a serious player, just do yourself a favor. try on a pair of leather boots, and you'll tell the difference right away. I mean, to me, it amazes me how some of the offering out there from other brands, the newer stuff, I don't understand why people will buy them. They're just so uncomfortable, so stiff. They feel like cardboard sometimes, and to me, like, I can't imagine myself playing on a pair of those, knowing what I get with a pair of quality leather boots.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thanks again, Sam. We really appreciate you taking the time to get with us and hop on here on Straight from the Training Ground with us. Again, Sam Garzon, the founder of Unozero. So if you have not checked that out, I highly suggest it. As he said, they have a website. Check them out. They're might be available at the local retail soccer stores in your area, and they're all over social media also. So check those out. So, Sam, we really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us a little bit today.
No, thank you, Jason. Ryan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sam.
And thanks again to Sam and everyone at Unozero for supporting us here at Straight from the Training Ground, being a partner with us. We really appreciate everything from them. And Ryan, great interview. And obviously, you and I both love the classic leather boots.
Yeah. I guess we're biased, but it was great hearing about the success of Unozero and him bringing back kind of like some quality from the past and bringing it to the market today, which I think is much needed. So excited about it.
We hope that they continue to do great things in the football world. So make sure you check them out again at Unozero online on social media. We appreciate all their support here straight from the training ground. Until next time. Visit our partners at TractionSocks.com for performance grip socks created for all athletes. Visit our new partners, Unozero, at Unozero.com, where classic beauty and quality meet modern design and elegance for football boots and more.